everyone, so I am back with a very useful video for all my dear class 10th students. So this video is about biology. So all those who are still nervous or still struggling to complete biology, this one is for you. So I am going to share with you chapter wise most important questions and most important topics that you must revise before your exams. So we will start with chapter number 1, which is life processes. Now, looking at the previous year's question paper pattern, we noticed that till 2017, not too many questions were asked from this lesson. However, in the last 2 years, we noticed that there were quite a few questions which came up from this lesson. In fact, the rough weightage that I would give is around 6 marks, 5 to 6 marks questions were asked in the last 2 years. So, few important areas of this chapter are the blood circulation, components of blood. You should know about how the human circulatory system works, the concept of valves. Then you have transport in plants, where xylem, phloem, they are like very important topic from exam perspective. Not only that, even human excretory system is an important one. In fact, you are even asked to draw the diagram for the excretory system. So please do practice that as well. And personally, I would say that if you get time, it is also a good idea to revise all the different types of nutrition, because that also turn out to be an important topic of this lesson. Let's take a look at few sample questions that might come from life processes. Question number 1, draw a well-labeled diagram of human excretory system. How is urine formed? So as I've mentioned before as well, that human excretory system is one of the most important topics of this lesson, and we often get questions with regards to the diagram of the excretory system as well. Difference between arteries and veins, xylem and phloem. Explain the breakdown of glucose by various pathways. Why is it necessary to separate oxygenated and deoxygenated blood in mammals? Define translocation. Why translocation is important in plants? Where are sugars and hormones synthesized in plants? So if you look at these questions, they give you a fair idea about what kind of questions might be framed from all of these important topics. Needless to say, I want you to attempt each of these questions and ensure that you know answers to all of these questions. How do organisms reproduce is our lesson number 2, and this has always been one of the most important lesson in class 10th biology. So the weightage of marks could be somewhere between 6 to 8 marks. And a few important topics of this lesson are the human reproductive system. In fact, in that also the female reproductive system, the role of placenta. You often get questions which are related to the concept of placenta. Not only that, the contraceptive methods are also an important topic from exam perspective. If I talk about plants, sexual reproduction in plants, there also a couple of things are very important. For example, the process of fertilization, the process of pollination, the structure of a flower. These are few important areas. Besides that, asexual reproduction, when it comes to, you should revise processes like fission and budding. They are also important. So time to look at few questions. What is placenta? State its function in human female. As I've mentioned, placenta is one of the important topics. In fact, we have seen that in almost every alternate year, questions related to placenta have appeared on the question paper. List any 4 methods of contraception used by humans. How does their use have a direct effect on the health and prosperity of a family? What is the role of seminal vesicles and prostate gland? If a woman is using copper tea, will it help in protecting her from STDs, that is sexually transmitted diseases? Distinguish between a gamete and a zygote. Explain their roles in sexual reproduction. Now again, I am reiterating this, that reproduction chapter is one of the most important chapters for class 10th biology. So please revise it properly, practice the diagrams wherever necessary. Be clear with the concepts, because you do get many questions, like sometimes short answer questions, long answer questions. You get questions from this lesson. Chapter number 3, control and coordination. So this is a moderately important lesson. So you can expect around 4 to 5 marks of question from this lesson. So few important areas are transmission of nerve impulse. That's important. You may get a 3 marker from there. And for short questions, I think the names of the hormones, the endocrine glands which secrete those hormones, that is the secretory organ, and also the functions of the hormones. So that is something which you should be thorough with. Besides that, we will also take a look at some of the sample questions. Time to look at few sample questions from control and coordination. State the events in sequence that take place when an electric impulse travels from a dendritic tip of a nerve cell to another nerve cell. How does feedback mechanism regulate the hormone secretion? Hormones are needed by our body in an appropriate amount. Slightly more or less secretion causes disorder in our body. Illustrate this by using 3 examples. Please be thorough with the different hormones secreted by the different endocrine glands and their functions. What causes tendril to encircle or coil around the object in contact with it? Management of natural resources. This one is again a moderately important lesson. So you can expect a weightage of say 4 to 5 marks. Now earlier not too many questions were asked from this lesson. Like generally we used to get a 1 marker or like very short answer question from this lesson. But in the last 1 and 2 years we found that even 3 markers were asked from this lesson. So few important areas here are water harvesting, advantages of conserving forests and wildlife, dams, industrial products of forests. So these are some of the key areas. So I think you should definitely not miss them. And anyways, hereafter, questions. Few important questions or few sample questions from management of natural resources. State an instance where human intervention saved the forests from destruction. Write 2 advantages and 2 disadvantages of dams. What do you understand by watershed management? List any 2 advantages of watershed management. Human beings occupy the top level in any food chain. What are the consequences of this on our body? Now, as I stated, these days, like in the recent years, we notice that we get 3 markers as well from this lesson. So this is an example of a 3 marker where you have 3 little parts in one question and you get 1 mark for each. For example, what do you understand by watershed management? List any 2 advantages, right? So these type of questions might also come. Heredity and evolution, a very interesting chapter, a very important chapter, but I would not say the most important one from exam perspective. Because if we look at it in the recent years, not too many questions come from this lesson, but still we would give it a weightage of say around 5 marks. But since this is a very conceptual and very important lesson as such, so this lesson should not be ignored. So few key areas in this lesson would be Mendel's experiments, monohybrid cross, the concept of acquired and inherited traits. Not only that, sex determination in humans is a very interesting topic, and many a times we have got questions from that topic as well. Besides that, we used to get lot of questions from evolution, as in homologous and analogous organs, evidences of evolution. So that means the topic of evolution is also quite important. So I think it is worth giving this entire lesson a round of revision. And anyways, let's take a look at few of the questions. Heredity and evolution. Few questions here. What conclusions were drawn from Mendel's experiments? What conclusion was drawn by Mendel after combining F2 progeny in a dihybrid cross? Explain genetic drift, reproductive isolation, and natural selection. So one last lesson, and that is our environment. So this is a low priority lesson. We do not get many questions from this lesson. You can expect maybe 1 or 2 questions, generally short answer questions. So 2 to 3 marks would be roughly the weightage for this lesson. And the important areas would be food chain, food web, trophic levels. So I think if you're thorough with them, you should be able to answer questions related to this topic. Few sample questions from this last one. Differentiate between biodegradable and non-biodegradable wastes. If all the waste we generate is biodegradable, will this have no impact on the environment? How is ozone layer formed? What are the causes and what are the steps taken to prevent ozone layer depletion? What is the role of decomposers in our ecosystem? I hope you found this video useful. So in this video, We discussed not only the important topics but a lot of important questions from every chapter. Now, we did not give the solution purposely so that you can revise all the important topics and give a try to all these questions yourself. However, if you are interested to take a look at the solution, the link to the solution is given in the description, so please feel free to take a look at them. I wish you guys all the very best for your exams.